All right. Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another great money talk with Mr. Finance today. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of great things. And as you can see this week, our theme for this week is that we're going to talk about how to create that financial foundation. I know you guys probably heard this before, but when you think about creating a financial foundation, right? And you got to think about how many of you have started creating your financial foundation yet, right? Either just as a show of a hands, or how many of you understand what a financial foundation is? Because when you hear the word financial foundation, you may think and heard that, okay, I have a few things in place. But the creating a financial foundation is not something they just, okay, I put it together, right? I put it together and I'm done. I did it and I'm done. No. The financial foundation is something that you're constantly working on. It's something that you're always either updating, adjusting, or making sure that all the bells and whistles are in place, right? So when we think about creating that financial foundation, it is so important for us to know what is a financial foundation. How do we create that financial foundation? What must we do in order for us to say, yes, I have a strong financial foundation? So the question you got to continue asking yourself, do you have a strong financial foundation? Do you have the things that you need to be in place? Do you have the right mentality? Right? Because if you don't, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So, what is the right financial foundation? What is a financial foundation? It's like a goal. Having a financial foundation is like having a goal. What is your financial goal? Right? Your financial goal should not be, I just want to work, I want to make money, and I want to retire. That's not a financial goal. It can't be make money, retire. No, because I would like to say this. What if you don't make any money? I bet it, let's say that you make a lot of money, right? Well, let's say that you make a lot of money. Then what? Right? Then what? Then your financial goal won't be hit properly. So here's another question. When you think about creating that financial goal, here's the thing you should put yourself to say. There's four things you want to do when it comes to your finance, right? Number one, you want to put yourself in a position where you can make money, right? That's your goal. You want to be in a position where you make money. Another thing, you want to put yourself in a position where you can save money, right? You want to always put yourself in a position where you can save money. Another thing, you got to put yourself in a position where you could grow your money, right? You want to put yourself in a position where you could grow your money. And then last, you want to put yourself in a position where you could protect your money. That's your financial goal, guys, right? That's your financial goal. So that's why you really, really, and truly got to be in a position where you could create that financial foundation. You got to create your financial foundation that way, right? These are the four mindset you got to have. I got to be in the mindset of I got to make money, I got to save money, I got to grow what I save, and then I also got to protect it. This is the mindset to create a financial foundation. So let me break down the first thing you got to do, right? And I'm going to break down all of them. All right, here's the thing. Creating that financial foundation is like a house, right? And when we talk about building a house, we're talking about a house where you, right? You could have step by steps. So the first step is always about protection, right? We're going to break down today what is the protection that you need to put in place. The second thing is debt management. You got to learn how to manage your debt and eliminate them. The third thing is emergency fund. You got to know how to set aside a certain amount of income. And then the last thing is investment. You got to know what is your tax tolerance and different risk tolerance in order to invest properly, right? So these are your financial foundation, and that's what we're going to break down this week. You don't want to miss this week. This week is a step by step. You got to hear the whole step, right? So today, let's talk about protection, right? What are the protection? So when you look at it, if you don't have a copy of our Saving Your Future book yet, please get in touch with the person that invited you to this, right? If it's me that invited you, hey, get in touch with me. But more importantly, let's talk about having that protection in place. Now, one of the things it talked about on page 6 in our Saving Your Future book, right? It talks about a very incredible thing. And it says, as far as protection, we're going to talk about protection today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about debt management. Wednesday, we talk about emergency fund. And Thursday, we talk about investment. So for protection, it says here, first, you should have proper protection in the event of disability, health problems, and premature death, right? That's what it says. You got to have proper protection in the event of disability, health problems, and premature death. So these are 3 events that you cannot predict when they will happen to you and your family. Isn't that right? Right? When you hear this, Ms. Camille, can you ever predict when you're gonna die? When you're gonna have a health problem? When you're gonna have a disability? Can you ever predict that? Right? Can you predict that, Swan? Miss Beverly, can you ever predict that? Tiffany, can you predict that? Can you predict when any of these events will happen to you, Tony? Right? These events you can't predict. So these are unpredictable ones, but let's talk about the ones that you can actually come back from, right? I want to show you the mindset now. This is the mindset. If you had a health problem, and if you had a disability, you have to be alive to go through this, correct? Right? You got to be alive. You got to be alive to go through it, right? But now here's the one that you cannot come back from. Here's the one that you're not gonna, I'm gonna experience death day by day. No, you can't. You can't come back from premature death. There's no way to come back from that, right? So if you had to plan and if you had to put things in place, I'm planning for the one I can't come back from, like premature death. So now you got to ask oneself, what are the 4 things that I must have in place, or what is it that I need to have in place in order if I prematurely die? What must I have? Well, number 1, you got to have life insurance. Now you probably say, well, Keon, which one? I don't know. I don't know your situation. I don't know if a term is the best fit for you. I don't know if it's a whole life. I don't know if it's a universal life. I don't know if it's an index universal life. I don't know if it's a VUL. Just know that there's multiple choices. Now, the way that I'm able to determine what life insurance is good for you is by using the dime method, right? It's by using the dime method. So when I sit down with you, in order for me to know which life insurance is best fit for you and your situation, your family, is by me using the dime method. This is where I calculate, hey, how much debt you have. Hey, what is your monthly income, net income? Times that by 12, then times it by 10, right? You need 10 times your annual net income in protection. And then, hey, what is the balance of your mortgage if you had a mortgage, right? And then, okay, how old are your children? Let's talk about college planning for the children. Let's put something in place if something happens to you, if you prematurely die before you were able to, help them with college planning out of you being alive. So when we talk about owning life insurance, you got to talk about the dime method, right? I got to know your situation before I can know which life insurance is best fit for you, right? And is it affordable and is it suitable, right? So that's how you own life insurance. The next thing we got to talk about is, hey, do you have final expense insurance? That's the second thing you have to put in place. The second thing you got to put in place is final expense insurance. Why? So you say, well, Keon, why do I need two different life insurance? Well, the simple reason why you need to have final expense insurance is because the difference between the two is that life insurance does not pay out immediately when you die. It doesn't. But a final expense insurance pays out within 48 hours of you passing. So you need to have both of them. So what we always do is we say, hey, let's look and see what is the average cost of a funeral. And we'll get that protection because final expense insurance is really cheap. It's very, very cheap. So it's important that you have final expense insurance with your life insurance. The third thing we got to look at for premature death is that let's look at, do you have a will? Right? Do you have a will? Now you probably think and say, well, Keon, why do I need a will? I'm not rich. I'm not wealthy. Do you have a bank account? Do you have any assets? And if you do, then that requires you to have a will. All right, you gotta have a will. You got an estate. So when you think about a will, what is the will? A will is a legal document that allows you to distribute your properties to those of your choosing. It allows you to assign specific items from your estate to one person to the other, and items to other people or organizations of your liking. Did you know that you can also name an executor? An executor, this is the person who will carry out your wishes. The will also gives you the opportunity to pick a guardian. Did you know if you don't pick a guardian for your children within a will, the government have to do it, right? Because you got to make sure that your children will go to the right people. So the guardian will be responsible for their welfare and who you choose in your will. If you do not have a will, the government will use what is called a standard will to decide how to distribute your estate, and you may not like it. You may not like how they do it for you. So it's important to not only have a will, but you also got to have a power of attorney in place. What about not just a power of attorney, but what about even let's say that not just a power of attorney, but also a health directive, right? Do you have these things in place? So that's the third thing. So far, you need a life insurance. You need to have a final expense insurance and a will. And then let's talk about a trust. Now, here's where many people say, well, Keon, okay, I hear you with the will. But a trust, isn't a trust expensive, Keon? Isn't a trust something that rich people do? A trust is not expensive to put together. As a matter of fact, it's very inexpensive. It is very, very inexpensive. Don't let nobody fool you that a trust is just for rich people. It is not just for rich people. Once again, if you have assets, if you have a home, if you have a bank account, if you have a car, if you have jewelry, if you have money in the bank, that's an asset. Now, why is a trust important? Now, listen to this. You see, when it comes to a trust, you see, a will only take effects when you die. Okay? The will only becomes alive when you die. However, a living trust can benefit you while you're still alive. See, a living trusts are generally revocable, which means that you can always make changes to them. So you can have an irrevocable or you can have a revocable trust, right? So with a living trust, all your assets like your home, your bank account, stocks, and bonds, you can put them into a trust, administer for your benefits during your lifetime, and then transfer your beneficiary. Then you can transfer to your beneficiary when you die. See, most people name themselves as the trustee. This is the person that's in charge of managing these assets. Thus, you could have control over it. right? You can have control over it. You can also name a successor, which is also known as a trustee, in case you are unable to manage the trust. That's why, so having a trust is like you creating a corporation where you can put all your assets in it, and you can pretty much run it, or you can have someone run it for you, right? So when you think about a living trust, it may cost more than a will to prepare, but funding and managing than a will. So having one helps you to avoid. Here's the big thing that you get your family to avoid. It avoids probate costs, guys. How many of you know what probate is? How many of you ever heard the word probate before? Have you ever heard the word probate? It's a nasty thing, you know. It's worse than going through divorce. At least with divorce, you're walking away with a half. Probate? Oh man, Uncle Sam is a let me tell you, man, he knows how to get his cut. You don't want to put your family through a probate. You don't want your family to have to be fighting for your assets. No way. Put together that will and a trust. So you should have a will or a living trust to take care of your family, or else the government will do it. That's why proper planning with a professional can help. And it's very important for you to leave a legacy and preserve your estate for a cause, right? Preserve your estate for your family, because your family wanted you to do this for them, and you worked hard for your family. So why should you give it to Uncle Sam, right? But these are the four things we talk about. So now you got to ask yourself this question. Do you have all four? Do you have all four? Do you have the proper protection just against premature death already? But let's talk about health problems, right? Health problems. What about if you have health problems, right? Do you know the difference between HMO? Do you know the difference between PPO insurance, right? Do you understand even when it comes to Medicare, right? What is it that you must, what must you do? So let me give you a simple understanding, right? When you think about HMO insurance, just know that HMO insurance allows you to only work with the companies or the hospitals and the doctors that health insurance have affiliation with. So let's say that they have a Dr. Bob, Jacob, James, and Hospital B, Hospital C, and D that's in their network. These are the hospitals that you can only go to. If you go to somewhere else, you got to pay, right? That copay may be way higher because you're outside of the network. So you got to stay within doctors and hospitals within the network of the HMO insurance. Now, PPO could be it'd be more expensive, right? But PPO allow you to choose whatever doctor you want to go to, whatever specialist you want to go to, whatever hospital, whatever care, right? You can go to anyone. You get to pick and choose whichever specialist and stuff you want to go to, right? And it gives you a lot more flexibility, right? I like the word flexibility, right? So if you get sick in Bob, Jacob, wherever Disneyland for like here, you could choose wherever you want to go to, because PPO give you that insurance where you could choose that, right? You could choose. But one of the things that we also got to look at is disability, right? We talk about health problems. You got to know the difference between HMO and PPO, right? But let's talk about disability though. How many of you can predict when you become disabled? Right? You can't predict that. That's unpredictable. You can't predict when you become disabled, right? You can't. So if you can't predict when you'll become disabled, what must you have in place, right? You can't be reactive. That's the problem with us, in this generation. We're very reactive, and we're less preventful, right? We react when something happens. But can we be preventful? Can we preventful? Can we be preventful? I want you guys to say the words. I am preventful. Right? I am preventful. Can you be preventful? Right? Don't be reactive. Reactive means that you're too late. You are late. If you're reacting to it, you're late. But when it happens, can you be like, you know what? Prevention. They always say prevention is better than cure. Right? Can you prevent things? Can you be prepared for them? It's not a matter of if it happens. It's a matter of when. And the problem is that none of us can predict when. And if you can't predict when it will happen to you, please, you send me the lotto tickets, right? You are a fortune teller. You please send me whatever the lotto numbers will be, because I will trust you and I will buy them. I am always in for making more money. Okay. So let's talk about what you must have in place, though. What you must have in place is something called long-term care. Okay. Now, if you never heard of this before, it's important that you do know about it because long-term care is very incredible, right? You can get a standalone long-term care from many other companies, right? I would definitely suggest that you talk to the person that invited you and say, hey, Mr. Finance says I need to talk about long-term care when it comes to disability. How do I go about having it? But what is long-term care, right? Now, let's talk about long-term care. Did you know that long-term care is a growing problem that families have to deal with? And, with growing numbers of retirees, the problem is only getting worse in America here, right? I want you to think about it. If you have to take care of, the parents while having a job and your family, this could be a huge burden on you. And you know that many people may have to even quit their job to look after their parents. Even elderly persons who lack money and assistance have to take care of their spouse, and they may not be physically or mentally capable of doing that, right? So that's why long-term care is one of the most is a major type of protection in planning for the future or for your aging parents. So for most of us, long-term care is not an issue of what if, but it really is, it will happen, but rather when it will happen. That's what you got to think about. So the sooner you have protection, the better, because you never know when something will happen to you. So when you look at it and say, well, who needs long-term care, Keon? I'm young, I'm vibrant, there's nothing will happen to me, right? You know what's crazy? There's a good chance that one of you listening to this will need long-term care, right? Did you know that 70% of people over the age of 65 will require some form of long-term care service? Did you know that 40% of those who's receiving long-term care are between the age of 18 and 64? 18 and 64. Imagine that. So when you look at the fact that the cost of long-term care, it's way out of the ballpark. Did you know that the average annual cost of a nursing home is $83,580 in the US, and it's about $47,000 in Canada? So this cost, the cost is lower when you are younger. Did you know that? Did you know that the cost is lower when you're younger to get it? It's like when you own life insurance. When you buy life insurance when you're younger, the cost of insurance is cheaper. It's the same thing with long-term care, right? So that's why we tell you to get it while you're young, not wait till you get older, right? And if you're already older, get it now. You're still young before you get older next year. So health insurance or Medicare can help pay for the cost of immediate medical expenses, but not for long-term care or chronically ill people. That's why long-term care pays for the insured who become chronically ill, which is defined as an inability to perform at least two of the following activities, which is like the bathing, continuance or dressing, eating, toileting, and transferring. That's what long-term care really helps with. So, the fact that you can even purchase long-term care as a standalone policy, or you can even buy it as a rider in a life insurance policy. Just got to take care of your long-term care, because you won't want to become a burden to your own loved ones, right? You don't want to be that person. They love you to death, but you don't want to be the person that, because of you, they can't go travel and see the world. You don't want to be that person, right? So that's why we talk about putting together protection in place. But protection doesn't even stop there, guys. How about protection in your home, your car, your pet, your businesses, right? You got to have protection in place, so that way you could always be safe and make sure that you are properly protected. That's why we tell you, is your financial foundation in order? Do you truly have a strong financial foundation? And it's important that you always double check. So while I do some quick announcements, if you have any questions, please write them in the comment section in the chat room. And definitely, as I go through the announcements, as I finish announcements, I will definitely check them out for any comments, questions, or feedbacks. All right, our feedback. So first thing first, like I said, tomorrow we're going to talk about ways of how to manage and eliminate debt, so you don't want to miss it. Also, just so you know, our financial literacy classes, we're taking place, and you're always invited. All right, and you can screenshot this section here and send it to a friend, right? But the question that I gotta ask is, are you open to learning more? Because we have our four steps to financial freedom class. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time. We provide these classes for everybody that wants to come and learn. It's the same logins as Money Talk, so that way you can come, learn, and hear more about these steps. Also, we have our financial workshops, where you can have access to our workshops Monday through Friday. And as you can see on the calendar here, we have workshops Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time and 8 p.m. Eastern time for anybody who would like to come and learn more. So that way they're more than welcome. As you know, our goal is to educate 30 by 30, right? Financial education isn't an option anymore, guys. It's a necessity. And that's why World System Builder is committed to educating and empowering 30-million families by 2030. That's what this whole thing about. That's what Money Talks about. That's what our 4 steps about. That's why our 7 steps about. We invite you to come and learn, because we want to empower you. So once again, check us out, Money Talk. You can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, right? Add us on all social media, so that we can continue to educate families together. And just so you guys know, mark your calendar. I have a special event that I'm being a part of. It's at Extension Expo. It's a virtual experience, right? October 18th to the 19th, 2020 of this year. Go to extensionexpo.com and get your ticket, right? So that way you can come and learn as well and put yourself in a winning position, all right? So thank you, everybody. Let me see here. Thank you for definitely tuning in, and I hope you guys learn a lot. So let me just double check the chat room real quick before I go. See if anybody have any questions or feedback.